Hello, welcome to another episode of Mega Manga Monday. I am Jason Hahn, and we are here to talk about My Hero Academia, chapter 369. Pretty excited to talk about this one, but I am Jason Hahn. I'm a writer from ScreenRant.com. I happen to write a lot of video game related stuff, but I'm a huge manga fan, so we decided to start Mega Manga Mondays to talk about the new chapters of series we love. And, yeah, the action kept on coming with this one, but I've got a couple buddies to help me talk about this one. Ben, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm Ben. I write for the comic section of Screen Rant and the anime and manga section of Screen Rant as well. Um, so yeah, My Hero's just it's a series that I have ups and downs with, especially nowadays. But I'm still excited to discuss this chapter because there's a lot to discuss in this one. So.
Yeah, it was a fun chapter. We're kind of getting some things that we've been waiting years for, even if it's not necessarily what we're, looking forward to plot-wise to get resolved. But yeah, we also got Carlyle. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm Carlyle Edmundson, another Screen Rant writer in the comics and anime and manga department, as we've now established. And yeah, this is definitely a good chapter. I'm excited to talk about it. It got me thinking about lots of possibilities of where the story can go from here.
Absolutely. Yeah, in our previous, this is definitely not our first My Hero Academia podcast. If you're interested in hearing our thoughts on previous chapters, definitely check those out. But yeah, we were kind of ready for things to shift gears over to see like what Toga is doing and stuff like that, because we just feel like this is almost like climax of the story. Like we've been waiting years to be able to see Deku just go all out. And especially once we learned that he's got multiple quirks, we're like, okay, well, so the end of the series has got to be him using his nerd brain to balance out all of his abilities that he's doing. And this is that at full force. I'd say even more than when his fight against the lady sniper during his Dark Deku phase, which was kind of the first glimpse of that, I feel. The anime is about to get into some pretty good stuff, but it still feels like he was just grappling with that. He's just learning that on the kind of as he's going. But now that he's got like all of them unlocked, it's just so awesome and exciting to see Deku just go all out.
Yeah, I mean, so I want to mention a point that you kind of mentioned earlier about wanting to go back to like Himiko and all that, like the other plot threads that are going on. Because I feel like is a great chapter that came about like 20 chapters too soon.
Yeah.
Like I mean it's signaling that it might be cutting away at the end of the chapter.
Yeah, if cutting to the spinner there is not where we're going to take our break off to the other storylines, then I don't know how we're ever going to get there.
Yeah, the thing I'm worried about is that because All For One gave Spinner like a power, right? So it could be something like he reclaims Spinner's power and then just keeps doing this fight. But I hope that it cuts away because it would really stink if it's like we're finishing this fight out and then it's like, yep, the war arc's over. All the other stuff happened off screen. Wait, you expected to see, all that stuff happen on page? No, we can't have that.
Yeah.
Wait for anime season 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, I honestly think that it's all kind of coming to fruition, and I think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be bigger and better than we're imagining. Because this whole time we've been wanting to see, this version of Deku go against Shigiraki, and he is just manhandling Shigiraki in this chapter and the last one too. But it was definitely during this chapter they remind you that Shigiraki is at a huge handicap right now. Like he isn't able to use any of his quirks, and he's apparently got just a huge amount of those just in the bank. And so honestly, I feel like tension wise, and the coolest thing that could happen in the story is that handicap gets lifted. So right now we're seeing like Deku full force, 100% power, full capabilities going at it, and just for like tension's sake and whatnot, it feels like we're seeing the coolest that Deku can do right now. Well, as soon as things turn on their head and go badly, it's not going to be enough. And that's the part I'm excited to see happen. But I'm almost thinking that, we might get Toga, Dabi, and Spinner stuff, more developments with their storylines before that happens.
Yeah.
Because that all feels inevitable. It's one of those things that's like so cool that it has to happen.
Yeah, it sort of feels like almost they're setting up like a One Piece-esque thing where like, Luffy conks out and he's like, I need 5 minutes. Buy me 5 minutes of time or something. And then, the other characters have to buy him 5 minutes. It could be the same sort of thing here where like Deku's like, because, Gear, the second, like, Avatar thing, he said like, you've got this amount of time, make it count. So I could see maybe that amount of time running out, and then what does Deku do? How do they stop All for One's rampage?
Or both those things happen at the same time. His 5 minutes are up, and then something happens to Aizawa, and the eraser's gone, and now it's like, oh shit! Now what do we do?
Yeah,
that would be crazy. And then Bakugo like rises from the dead after Edshot's sacrifice, and he's like, "I'll take him down."
Yeah. I mean, it's been a long time since we've been at that point where the anime's covering right now. They're kind of at the beginning of the war arc, but I don't remember if Edshot was as prominent or if the anime is trying to make him more prominent from his role in the manga right now, because there's like a whole division of the army, of the hero army, that's being led by Edshot. I was like, I don't even remember if he was the captain back then. So it's almost like, oh man, we need to make Edshot more important. So then when the moment happens that we had happen a few chapters ago, it's going to feel more prominent to the anime. But yeah, I still feel that, and it's something we said a couple chapters ago too. It seems primed for like Bakugo and Deku to have some awesome team up action happen too. And again, it's one of those things that's such a cool idea that it would be really, really disappointing if they didn't end up following through with it.
Which wouldn't be the first time, but
oh man. Yeah, I still think that we might have that stuff in the chamber. I think this is all just getting ready for. This all feels like Final Fight stuff because it is epic and awesome, and it's stuff we've been waiting years to see. But it still doesn't feel like it's as good as the series can get with the action.
Yeah.
Which is exciting. I'm honestly at a point with My Hero Academia. I mean, every once in a while we do have a bad chapter that's just like, oh man, this is sad because we know it could be so much better. But this chapter, and I feel like especially the last one, was just like, oh man, I'm glad to be a My Hero fan, and I'm excited to see how it keeps on going.
These were pretty good.
But yeah, the chapter started out with a flashback, and we're all for, or me personally, I'm all for One Flashbacks. And I think it's really strange how, well, just to kind of cover it. So All for One has, I believe, the second wielder by the throat.
I think it's the second wielder because he's talking about the second wielder's meta ability.
Okay.
Right.
He's talking about how at one point it was nothing. It was just barely being able to control something like a pea shooter or something, and he's able to level it up at least well enough to be a threat. But All for One just kind of being a jerk. But the thing that kind of gave me the most pause on it is like, why are they still like hiding his face? It's been revealed already, especially with the fight against Endeavor right now. I mean, it looks menacing as hell and awesome, so that's probably the answer. But I just think it's kind of weird how we still have this mystery on his face, even though it's been like fully revealed at this point.
So I think that might be an effect of the all for all one for all dimension. Because when Deku first sees the flashbacks to the first user and all that, his mouth is obscured by Black Shadow too. So that might be, it's entirely possible that he's witnessing this flashback in the all for one for all dimension, and that's why his face is covered like that.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Because it relates, like, the questions that he's asking are, like, relating to the present moment.
Yeah,
right?
And there is a couple pages later part where it talks about the two realms sort of coming in sync again, like they did way back in the War Arc. So I think there's some synchronization going on that is allowing All for One to actually hear the vestiges.
Yeah, because that was something in the official translation they even bring up. He's just like, why am I able to see them now? Like, oh boy, I just went to the page and I forget how much dialogue they stuff into it. But oh boy, I'm going through it. It's like page 8 and 9. For another blast of overdrive, courtesy, or maybe that's not the one. Yeah, there was at some point Shigiraki's talking about being able to see like the vestiges around Deku. Oh yeah, no, it's page like 2 actually, page 2 or 3.
On page 12 and 13, it's we're resonating one for all with all for one, and all for one with one for all. So right there in the middle of the page.
Yeah, and I'm almost curious. It's one of those things too, where we've said it a couple times already, where it's just what do you have to do the coolest thing possible, because that's why the story is in place, and very curious to see what sort of entity All for One would become if he was able to get Deku's power as well. It would be kind of a final form sort of bad guy thing, but that would effectively mean that they lost too. Like, don't know if it's like Naruto rules where if it's the ability is extracted from Deku, he dies. But it may oh man, that could actually be the ending, is he gets it taken away, but he's still able to, like, if people eat his hair in a small amount of time, then they can all have their powers boosted and stuff, and then
like Naruto sharing his chakra with everyone.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool moment. And I almost think, and I've said it in previous podcasts too, with the second movie ending that way. Apparently that's how Horikoshi wanted to use that idea for the ending, but he apparently came up with something better. So my thought was instantly just like, well, what's cooler than giving it to one friend? What if he gives it to all of his friends? And so we just get all for, or one for all legitimately becomes for everybody. And they
the one thing is that, like, that will kill them all, right? Didn't it?
Small enough amount of power that we don't have to worry about that particular effect.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that would be very funny though if it's like it does the Naruto moment and then it's like everyone dies. And it's like the heroes all make their final sacrifice except for Deku. And that's why Deku is the greatest hero, because he's the only hero in the end, because he killed off all the other heroes with his hair.
What a sentence. That's like something Edshot should be able to do, but he wasn't cool enough, I guess. But how do you mean that they would all die? Because I think even in the movie, which we're still up in the air if it's going to be considered canon or not, I think Bakugo passes out before it can be finished, and that's something that they just decide to throw in there for convenience. Is like, it doesn't work if you pass out before it finishes.
Well, there's a moment where, like, when he's talking with all the vestiges, and it's like, if you had a quirk, you would be, like, dead, because the power would just get to a point where it would kill you.
And several of them were like, I died of old age at 40.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. So it kind of gave Deku like a ticking clock almost.
Well, because he's quirkless, I think he's fine. But if you give it to people with quirks, then it was a nice sort of moment to be like, yes, you know, your quirklessness kind of was like its own superpower, because you're able to handle this now. But
oh man, I totally forgot about that, and that actually like throws a bunch of theories I've had about the series away for a long time. Was that Deku may have had some sort of quirk in his back pocket, and the doctor...
He still might, you know. Who knows what the series got? Right. Maybe he will just die at 20 because he does have this secret quirk, but But yeah, it's unknown at this point.
Well, another favorite part of this chapter I really enjoyed, and I'm going from the official translations, but All for One uh, decides to name or to designate Lemillion with the name the Bean-Eyed Young Man.
Yeah.
And the little tiny picture of Lemillion at the bottom of that frame was just like, oh man, I kind of want that as a tattoo. Just that little tiny Lemillion somewhere. But just
I was very confused by that one in the fan translation because they didn't translate that down there next to his face.
I'm curious.
Oh, really?
What did they name him in the?
It just said like it said it like literally in Japanese, so it was like Subaru Obami or something like that, and I was like, who is this character?
Oh man, that would have really thrown me off.
Do you not remember Subaru Obami?
Subaru Obami was correct. You're like, wait, what? What? Oh man, that's great. But yeah, another thing. I mean, we thought we got like Deku's ultimate punches and stuff on the last chapter, but this one, I love that he's able to like change his speed and defy inertia, like with this new attack. It just makes it so. I'm really curious if he can do it with other people too. So like when him and Bakugo start fighting, if he can also control Bakugo's speed and stuff like that. Yeah. That combined with Bakugo's new like form will be insane.
Yeah, I feel
like really fun with Ochako too. I think. Her versus that, it'll be amazing if they get to work together.
Oh man!
If we ever revisit Ochako, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it can definitely work on other objects because, like, you know, All for One explicitly says that it was only meant to work on small objects. So he can definitely use it on things other than himself, I think.
Yeah, that bullet that's coming towards him, I believe, is supposed to have been brought towards them by the second user's quirk. So he was able to pull a bullet from wherever it was towards them. So presumably he can use it on other things.
That makes a lot more sense because I was seeing it as if somebody was just like randomly shooting at All for One while he's holding the user up by the throat, and I was just like, okay, we never really cut to who shot that, and then as it like approaches him and he stops it in midair, it almost seems like it's the size of a tank shell, like. But yeah, that totally makes more sense that he like attracted that to him and stuff. And yeah, for a little bit I thought it was like his brother too. But it's kind of like if it's not his brother, the first wielder of All for One, or One for All, he's all teary-eyed for some reason. Yeah. Like,
so my explanation for this, what I think happened is the context here is that we've just discovered that Yoichi, the first user, is dead. And so that's why he's upset, and he knows, or he probably knows, that the second user originally came there to kill Yoichi. So he's blaming the second user for his brother's death without knowing that his brother passed this quirk on to him.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, Carlyle, on why he might be there and why it's a much more emotional scene. It's just anytime we get a small glimpse of like way into the past, All for One, and it just feels like way too small of a glimpse. It just makes me want like a whole arc of just like following All for One. I think that'd be fascinating.
Yeah, I would love to at least see a couple more flashbacks like this where we see how some of the other users of One for All fell, because we know some of them did lose or die as a direct result of battling All for One.
Yeah, it actually makes me wonder, this after reading this chapter, it gave me this idea or this question of has every wielder of One for All been able to successfully pass the quirk on before they die?
Presumably.
Yeah, I mean, that seems pretty wild.
Yeah, fortunately, nobody just got obliterated. They weren't dealing with any Shigirakis back then, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, even here, it's like saying that, you know, even when they did have these abilities and stuff, their quirks weren't like supercharged like Deku is able to do. So it makes sense that they, all fell by All for One's hand, but it's just kind of convenient that all, was it 7 or 8 or 9 of them have been able to pass it on in time.
It seems like the first couple went very quickly. Like Yoichi passed it on to the second user very quickly, and then the second user died and passed it on to the third user very quickly. So I think it changed hands a lot in a very short period of time.
Yeah, possibly. It's really hard to tell though with All for One's like aging ability. But yeah, it almost like the more time we spend in the present, the more anxious I am to like learn about the past. Especially, I think getting to see this whole world at the beginning of like quirk manifestations would be really interesting to watch. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they have a spin-off series planned after this, and Horikoshi can go do his own thing and just they can Boruto it. But I think this has the potential to be better than Boruto, or at least a sequel series. Other things they could possibly do with the My Hero Academia franchise, but. So yeah, that was a question that kind of popped up in my brain while I was reading that. I was just like, it just seems very convenient that they are able to pass it along, but that also meant that they were like weakened, because as we've learned with like All Might and Deku, after he passed on the abilities to Deku, All Might's powers started to drain as Deku got more powerful. So that could make sense, but. I just want more. I want more of the past to be revealed, really. But yeah, speaking of past wielders and stuff like that, I guess we can get into like Deku's Onslaught here. It just kind of we the last panel we got at 368 was Deku hitting Shigiraki firmly in the junk, and their fight pretty much kicks up right after that, and. One of the biggest attacks we've seen in a while, I feel, is like a quintuple Detroit smash. And they even do a little bit of Naruto, like, Guy Sensei sort of things here. It's just like he's warping the very laws governing reality because he's moving so quickly and messing with, or he's this new meta ability, the gear shift thing, is able to pretty much like control the speed of things on a cellular level, which is one of those things. The more you think about it, the more ridiculous it is.
Oh yeah, breaking the laws of inertia is a wildly powerful ability that I think when it comes across your mind initially, you don't realize quite how broken that is.
Yeah.
So we see it in action.
Yeah, and I think it's especially dangerous for someone like Deku to have, someone who doesn't care about their own body. That is very scary. It also reminded me of another One Piece thing, is like Gear 5, Luffy's Gear 5, where it, changes the way reality works. And also,
that's a pretty broad description. I feel like we still have a lot of mystery around Gear 5.
Oh yeah, but we know that it changes the way reality works. And also the reason why it stuck in my mind too is because he's talking about gear, like low gear, gear. Like it's gear shift,
Yeah, oh absolutely.
So that, brought it immediately to Luffy's gears for me. And it was just kind of a neat little thing between two of the biggest Shonen Jump manga going on now. They're both having these sort of power-ups.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun talking about the last chapter. I just remembered you weren't able to be in that one. I'm glad you're feeling better, by the way.
Yeah, no, I was sick for a bit, so...
But yeah, that one, we had a lot of fun talking about a lot of the like references to other series. Like we felt like Deku's like charging up his fist looked exactly like Hunter x Hunter's Gon charging up his rock paper scissors fist, or I forget what it's called specifically, but
yeah, rock. John can't. Yeah, it's rock paper. It translates to that at least. Yeah.
It just
So
I said that and I was like, no, that's Goku's attack in Dragon Ball. It's the same thing. But and the whole Deku or them saying, okay, Deku, you have to finish this in 5 minutes or my quirk's gonna wear off. And it's like, okay, well, there's some Kaioken rules there, and then we had the rock fist, and now then we got all the gears. So chapter 368 was just a tribute to so many of the great shonens out there. But yeah, seeing Deku just like tear it up on this one, kind of it actually. I just watched the newest episode of the anime, which has started its 6th season, and it's starting with the war arc, and we're just now getting to see Mirako just tearing through the lab, which was an amazing part of the manga. They did okay. There's a couple.
I think they did great, and still going too. But
yeah, it's they did a pretty good job on some of them. It just there's definitely a few moments where I was just like, oh, that wasn't quite as like detailed as I was hoping, or just nitpicky things. But they're doing a pretty good job with it. It is very entertaining. But Deku's moving a lot like Mirako in that part of the story right now. Just with him being able to zip around and just being as mobile as he is, like even before the gear shift thing was put into play, back with this fight against the sniper lady, like him chaining together his black whip with his other abilities, like he was already mobile, ridiculously mobile at the time, and
he was able to take care of Muscular with those quirks super easily too, and that was one of those characters that he nearly killed him earlier.
Yeah,
so it really shows how much he's progressed in that particular fight.
Oh man, yeah, I kind of forgot about the rematch against Muscular that we had kind of at the beginning of this arc. Yeah, he just quickly disposed of that guy, and how much he struggled. That's actually one of my favorite parts of that season of anime. The voice acting and the way that they nailed that moment, which you kind of go back and you're like, it was, that was a pretty big moment, but it wasn't like him taking down Overhaul or United States of Smash big, but just the production team made that moment like so much bigger than it could have been. And that's kind of my disappointment with this episode of the anime. Like I was really hoping that the Mirako things still look pretty good for sure. But it just wasn't to that caliber that I was hoping for. But it's still good. They're probably saving their budget for some of the stuff that's going to be happening in this next couple episodes. So, but it was really nice getting to see Deku just moving like this again. I mean, they made Deku scary, and especially in this chapter. Like, he's so powerful right now. Of course, they have to put the time limit on him because. I mean, this is the Deku we've waited years to see, and I'm not disappointed with it at all. Like this is very satisfying.
Yeah, it lives up to the hype.
Absolutely. What were some other things about this chapter that really stood out for you guys?
Something that stood out to me is that he used Detroit Smash instead of another bigger Smash. I wonder if he's saving that for later, like
he
his
might
own
be
sort of
cautious. Since he doesn't quite know how this is going to impact his hits, he's going smaller than he could potentially.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's probably the reason. But I hope that...
I think they actually clarified that in here, because in the official translation he says Detroit Smash quintuple, and then later, and even Shigiraki's just like, oh, well, that one didn't hit as hard as that one before. And then Deku's just like, okay, because I used the Detroit Smash previously, it gave me the chance to recharge the third wielders, the Fajin, for his next big punch, which I don't think he gave a name for it. He was just yelling at All for One saying, you don't get to hurt anybody anymore.
Yeah, but I hope that he does like his own version of United States of Smash.
Absolutely.
It would be disappointing if he's only like Detroit Smash, New York City Smash. That's
United Nations of Smash.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Oh, that would be great. Oh, that's got to be Final Attack when other people are helping him out with it too.
Yeah.
It would be pretty funny.
Or just World of Smash.
World of Smash. World of Smash. I think that would be great.
Super Smash Brothers. Okay, that's something else.
Yeah, he's like Melee.
But yeah, I thought another thing too, kind of going to the end of the chapter, the sparkles appearing over Shigiraki. I was like, oh, is Bakugo about to come in and just punch him in the face? Like, because they decided to animate the sparkles the very same way that Bakugo's like final sparkles were set up to look like. But not yet, not yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure what this means. Where we're going from there.
Yeah, because I mean, if he's still getting his quirks turned off, I mean, it would be kind of weird if he was just like, oh, I'm just so ridiculously powerful. I'm summoning just one quirk out of my arsenal. Like, no, that would be weird. I almost wonder maybe if it could be support coming in, but we kind of get everybody commenting saying, "Oh, his body's doing something. He's got another trick up his sleeve." But yeah, and we get the dialogue is indeed Yoichi.
Yoichi, that's his brother.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's right. Thank you. So yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen next. It seems kind of odd, like that they cut to Spinner, looking more hulked out than we've ever seen him, and he's just looks like he's in full rage mode.
Well, this is why I think that like he's gonna take like something from Spinner, right? Because we saw when he was dying in the fight against Endeavor. I guess that was, all for one, not Shigiraki all for one. But in that fight, when he was like burning up, it showed Eri briefly, and then the implication was that he used Eri's power to heal himself. So it could be a similar thing here.
Yeah,
Spinner definitely looks like he's reacting to something. Like this is some kind of a signal.
Mm.
Yeah, and I'm not sure like where Spinner is in comparison to Shigaraki, so I'm almost don't know if like Shigaraki's putting out or just yelling so loud and it's like putting a call out to his teammates that he needs help or something. When I first saw it, I was like, Bakugo? No, it's not Bakugo. Well, maybe the original All For One's about to show up, and that's like him getting there through some quirk or something. So yeah, I don't know. But I can't imagine what he would take from Spinner other than whatever you guys believe that All For One gave Spinner an extra quirk.
Well, that happened at the beginning of the arc. Spinner visited him and was like, "Can you give me something?" And then he did.
Yeah,
that Dobby didn't take it, so we know that he offered it to everybody.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was like specifically an extra quirk or if it was just the drug that like boosts your quirk. I wasn't sure.
It could be Trigger too. He could be doing both of them, but I believe he gave him his extra quirk.
Oh boy!
Yeah,
like, giving them an extra quirk and then Trigger like without them being able to like learn how to use their extra quirk could be bad.
I mean,
that's probably why he looks like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just as soon as I saw Spinner, I was just like, oh, in our last podcast, I was just talking about how much I miss Spinner, and last time we saw him, I mean, he should be going through a lot in his brain too. Like he's just his entire life, he's wanted to convince society that he's not a monster, and just people looking at him judge him as a monster, and here we are. He's gone full monster, and so I mean that guy's got a lot of sad stories in his brain, I'm sure, or sad thoughts going through his brain, and if he's like going fully hulked out where his personality is gone, that'd be kind of a bummer. But if this is like him, oh no, I need to get to Shigaraki, and he just Hulk jumps to Shigaraki, that could be pretty cool. Because honestly, I forget like people who have a type of quirk like Mirako or Spinner. I don't know if it's been like clarified, but if Eraser takes away or disables their quirk, do they just go to human mode? I don't know.
Does not work. Erasure does not work on what they call the mutant quirks or the heteromorphic quirks.
Okay.
If your quirk changes your appearance and he uses Eraser on you, then it doesn't affect your ability to use your quirks at all. And that's why I think Shigiraki is actually using a quirk and he's lying about it. He keeps pretending like this is some crazy mutation that's because he's so perfect. I think it's just a heteromorphic quirk.
Yeah.
Possibly.
It's a mutant quirk. I mean, it is a mutation if it's a mutant quirk, kind of.
True.
Well, thanks for clearing that up. Because yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I would almost think that they would have like taken advantage of that from so many people out there who are struggling because of their mutation quirk or something like that. But yeah, last time we saw Spinner, I think he was just kind of rampaging in some city. I don't think he was even at like a specific battlefield against Red Riot or.
I think he was at the hospital. I feel like that's where he was. I'm not 100% sure on that though.
Okay. But yeah, either way, very curious to see more Spinner and see where he goes from here. Because yeah, if he's getting some sort of message that he needs to get to Shigiraki, or if the quirk that he was given at the beginning of this arc possibly just evaporates out of his body and goes to Shigiraki, I don't know. Yeah, I almost wonder if he's just going to Hulk jump and he's just going to appear above Eraser and Manoa. Is that the super annoying kid's name?
Monoma, yeah.
Monoma, okay. Actually, no, he's hilarious. Now that I remember, he's the one that's always like talking crap on the other class and stuff. But yeah, I could see that being a terrifying panel where they look up and Spinner's just above them, about to take them out. Because yeah, I mean, we as anybody who's read a comic, a Hulk comic, knows that he can jump pretty good. So yeah. I'm curious to see if that's what's about to happen. So yeah, I don't know. What would you guys like to see happen? Are you hoping that we stick with this battle, or do you think we're going to shift over to Toga, or are we going to spend some time with Spinner? What would you like?
I mean, I really hope that we shift to see other battles now, because I feel like if we don't, we just kind of never will. Which, I mean, maybe if, like, Deku does, like, pass out and he needs people to buy him time, maybe we'll see other things. But, like, I don't know. We're getting past the point where it's reasonable to actually cut away from this final fight. So I'm really worried, and maybe, by the end of it, Horikoshi may prove my fears invalid. But I'm really worried that we're just, like, a lot of stuff's just going to happen off screen at the end of this arc. And I don't want that to happen. So I hope that we cut away. But
I think it was, I don't know if it was the chapter before this or the one before that, but Horikoshi went out and said, I think I may have goofed and said that we're planning on ending this story by the end of the year, and I now that I'm realizing it's already October, I'm gonna have to adjust that. So I really think that this is just like round one of this, essentially. I think this is just round one for Shigiraki, and we have a lot more to look forward to, especially if the things that we've waited years to see are happening now. Then it's just much more exciting to know that Horikoshi's got something bigger and better planned just around the corner, hopefully. But yeah, just the disappointment if he just speeds through this and skips through all those other things that we need to see. That would be some Game of Thrones level of disappointment there.
It also wouldn't be unprecedented, because, like, I think Midnight's death in the previous war arc, like, happening off screen, was very disappointing. Just sort of like, why show this off screen? Like, could have just shown it on the page and it would have been really emotionally effective. But I don't know.
It almost struck me as a censorship thing, but who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just
I'm hoping
it was just too R-rated.
Yeah, which will make the revenge sort of because they've shown the person who killed her, apparently. So
yeah,
maybe I don't know. Maybe they're gonna show the revenge off screen as well.
Well, possibly. I wonder because we kind of need more of that emotional resonance to be happening at other parts of the battlefield too. Because I mean, if we're just going to this and then going to Toga and Dabi, it's just like those are all very emotionally charged battles. And then you cut to Red Riot and everybody just doing hero stuff. Then it's just like, oh, okay. Well, we kind of need. We kind of. I think they've even said like, oh, I think that's the guy that took down Midnight. Well,
Yeah, they did.
yeah, if that guy is like evil and sadistic and stuff like that, then I could absolutely see them doing a flashback of him telling them like how he did it and stuff like that, and then them getting upset. But yeah,
I feel like that. I don't know. I feel like that would still be disappointing, more disappointing than just having seen it happen in the war arc. I mean, I don't know. That's my opinion on it, but.
Yeah, I mean, as I was reading it, and they're like, "Yeah, Midnight died." I was just like, "Oh, I guess she just got stepped on by Giganta guy, Giganto."
Gigantomachia?
That's the one. Because yeah, I mean, he's essentially a mountain or a skyscraper that was just running through the forest, and they definitely had a hard time stopping him or even slowing him down. And we even had that moment where they're like, "Oh, did they stop him? Did they not stop him?" When like they managed to get Momo's concoction to make him pass out or something in his mouth, and that ended up just being kind of a red herring, I guess, because they did the whole like, "Oh, we thought he was stopped," and then he shows up at the edge of the city, and that was like the cliffhanger for a chapter, and you're like, "Oh man, that's scary." But yeah, so I mean, I don't know if we'll get more clarification on that, but it would definitely help heighten that drama a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like a good time. I think we're just so excited for other bits too, but yeah, I think we have a lot more My Hero Academia ahead of us, gentlemen. But yeah, any more thoughts on My Hero 369 or anything else you want to get off your chest before we move into plugs and recommendations?
Here's my theory about what's going to happen.
Yes,
So
please.
we've got the One for All and the All for One realms that are coming in sync with each other. I think that we're going to have some showdown on the non-physical plane there, and we're going to try to grab uh, Shigiraki's child self, Tenko Shiburo. We're going to try and grab him and bring him over into One for All instead of in All for One, and just separate that part out of him so that he can be with his grandma. That's what I think.
Yeah, they finally get to have like a heart to heart.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah, that would be awesome, but I don't know. I feel like we've predicted that happening every other chapter.
I think it might be a minute before that happens, but
Yeah.
I think that is the best solution here, because I don't know that having a physical child body would be a very good thing. Maybe that would happen, but I don't think we need that. And I think that if we've already got some of these quirks housing souls essentially, or at least pieces of them, bringing that aspect over to be with his family, the person that all these bad things happened to him because All for One was trying to spite Nana Shimura, then it kind of brings that whole thing to a close if we can have those two get together, I think. And I think that's important. So I do feel strongly that this will happen, but it might be a minute.
I do hope you're right, because I think that would be really, really cool.
I just don't know how we could go past it without having some kind of emotional cool down or moment for her and Shigiraki. Like there has to be something between them at some point before this ends.
Yeah, that seems pretty perfect because it's as Ben said, is something that we've talked about in previous podcasts. Is we have to have some other confrontation in what I like to call the shadow realm or the mind realm or whatever you want to call it, the shadow realm, and because we got that little glimpse of that before, and now Deku is way more in tune with all the other vestiges and stuff like that. So Unlike last time where he was very stilted and not really able to do or say much in that environment, it's going to be a very different story now, especially now that All for One is having a hard time keeping young Shigiraki in check at this point in time because they're stressing him out so much. So I almost wonder if that's, about to happen, if we're about to get that, well, maybe not the final confrontation in that mind realm, but where I think we could get a confrontation in that realm, and maybe it goes poorly, and then that causes all the quirks to come out or manifest, or that might trigger the next evolution for this version of Shigiraki and stuff. But yeah, exciting stuff, guys. As I said earlier, pretty excited to see what happens next. I think I don't know if it's time to completely jump over. I think that we could go see what Spinner's up to, and then it leads in back up to this fight. But it just feels like kind of how the last chapter did, where it'd be like a weird transition to cut away now, just because things feel too cliffhangery. I almost feel like if we're going to transition to another part, then it's got to have like a something cool is about to happen, rather than oh my god, what's about to happen. No, does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think that makes some sense.
Oh, good. We'll definitely be talking about it. I think it is on break next week for 370. Just Shonen Jump's telling me new chapters out in 2 weeks, so that's a good indication that we're on break next week for it. But Mega Manga Mondays will definitely be there to talk about chapter 370 when that comes out. So look forward to that. But I think we'll go ahead and move into plugs and recommendations, unless you guys had something else.
I'm good. So
Yep.
Groovy. All right, guys. Well, this has been Mega Manga Monday for My Hero Academia 369. It's been fun talking about it with you guys. But if you enjoyed this podcast, please check out other episodes of Mega Manga Monday. We've talked about definitely My Hero Academia chapters, but we also talk about series like One Piece, Boruto, Dragon Ball Super, Chainsaw Man, Berserk, and all kinds of stuff. So check that out on, you can follow us on Twitter for updates at Manga Mondays. And we also have a website, Mega Manga Mondays, all one word, .podbean.com. And you can get all the updates on our Twitter. Reach out to us. Let us know if there's anything that you think we missed or some other topics that you'd like to hear us talk about. Always up for that. But I am Jason Hahn. Please check out our stuff on Screen Rant. I've got video game reviews. I just reviewed Overwatch 2 and had a great time playing it. The game needs a little work, especially now. They keep on coming out with bugs and issues. Hopefully they get those resolved. But have some pretty exciting stuff on the pipeline, so keep up on that. I also like to stream every Wednesday and Sunday on my YouTube channel, Honzy and Friends. We recently played some Street Fighter 6 beta, which was really fun too, and got some ideas for the next couple ones, so definitely check that out as well. But Ben, how about you, man?
yeah, so in terms of recommendations, it's the start of the anime season, so there's just so many things that I could recommend. But since we mentioned Hunter x Hunter earlier in this discussion, and since the new chapters of Hunter x Hunter are starting relatively soon, I figure it's a good time to point out that Viz now has all the chapters of Hunter x Hunter up to read on their site. If you have a Shonen Jump subscription, you get to read them all. And it's the perfect time to catch up with the series as it is coming back. So, I'll recommend that. And then there will be plenty of anime to recommend in the future.
Oh, absolutely. Especially this week.
And,
it's just like the week where a lot of stuff's premiering. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and I just watched. I'll get into that in future podcasts. But in terms of plugs, I have a YouTube channel of my own called YGO from Zero, where I go over historical formats of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, which is pretty fun. So if that's something that interests you, be sure to check that out.
Oh, absolutely. And Carlyle, I know you're kind of busy. You got a wedding coming up, man. Pretty excited for you. I think it's gonna go pretty well.
Yeah, it's looking good. So I'm excited.
Yeah,
Ah,
congratulations,
congrats.
man. But yeah, any have you had any chance to watch anything or any plugs or recommendations you'd like to throw out?
Yeah, it has been tricky to find time to watch everything, so I haven't watched everything that I want to watch that's out right now. But I did get to watch Thousand Year Blood War, and it's great. I'm so
Oh,
glad to
nice.
see Bleach back, and hopefully we can take this opportunity to patch up some of the holes in the ending and give it the send off that the series deserved.
Yeah, because I don't know. I'm really curious to see how well, of course, how well they're going to be able to do it, but also how long it's going to take them. Because I mean, the last arc of Bleach is not a short fare. So I wonder if they're gonna fill it out or if they're gonna rush it out. We'll see.
I think it's supposed to be split into 4 groups of 10 to 12 episodes, so
Wow.
that seems like
Oh,
enough
wow.
time. It ought to be, but yeah. In terms of plugs, I always encourage people to check out Elven Revenue Service, which is my visual novel. You can find it on Twitter at Elven Revenue and get to the demo that way. And if you like fantasy and you like visual novels and you want something that's not about high schoolers, give it a try.
Oh boy, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who love those things but are tired of high school plots. So that sounds awesome. I'll go ahead and put all those uh, descriptions and links in the description. So if any of those things sound good to you, check those out, please. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun talking My Hero. Looking forward to the next one, and thanks for your time, guys.
Great talking with you as always. See y'all next time.
Peace.